here in New Zealand from Taupo for the one and only time this season in 2025. Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our Supercars career mode as we are looking to be on top here of the podium in Taupo. An exciting racetrack. I've got one race under my belt in the past year, so I am a little bit familiar with this circuit, and it's a lot of fun. A very technical circuit, a lot of low speed, just have to be, really technical. As you see the point standings come up on your screen following a wild round 2 in Melbourne. It's the pair of Red Bulls up top with Feeney and Brown, while we're P7, our teammate of Kostecki in 5th. How about Cooper Murray in P4? That's probably the biggest surprise of any, as I'll take you guys on board for my quickest lap in qualifying. And to my surprise, I was actually on pole position with 4 minutes left in the session, just barely by 6/1000ths of a second over my teammate of Brody Kostecki here. Now as you go up this a little uphill elevation change here through the right-handed, the left-handed, then you're going to go through a pair of right-handers to get down to second. At least that's how I'm driving the track. Go a little bit wide, use the curbing there, and then you're going to hook it up on the right side curb, hit that apex, and you're going to be down to first, at least in my case. Hard on the throttle on the run towards this little kind of bend to the right, and then this is one of the awkward kind of hairpins here. The hairpins here in Taupo are really unique and really easy to screw up and really set yourself up horribly for the exit of the corner now. And then we got this little right bend as well. You want to try and use up a little bit of that track right there on the left that's available, of course, without touching the grass. And we head into this final hairpin before we go onto that final long straightaway towards the final section of the track. This is a really tricky corner here in the game. At least you can kind of take the bottom. You can do what I did, go high, then arc it down to the bottom. By the time you hit the curbs, then you open up that throttle, head down hard on this straightaway, full throttle. Of course, you're going to get up to 5th, 6th gear. You could keep it in 5th and kind of hit the rev limiter a little bit, but I'm going to go to 6th and break it to 150 just past it, and then go down into 2nd, then down into 1st at the end of the curb on the left, hook up these final few corners, this right left-hander, and as we come out of the final turn, we're going to back up a quickest lap of the session with an even quicker lap and go about 4/10ths quicker than Brody Kostecki, and to my surprise, that lap sticks. We are pole position for the first time in our Supercars career over Kostecki. You see a lot of the positions are really, really close, but at the bottom, Percat and Jack LeBlanc. But it's a front row lockout for our team as we get ready to go racing here. Round 3 of the season from Taupo, New Zealand, for the one and only time on the 2025 Supercars schedule is officially underway. And for the first time in our career, we're on pole, and we've already given up the lead to our teammate of Kostecki. Right behind us, we got James Courtney as well as Cooper Murray 4th in the standings to start today's episode. The pair of Red Bulls back there in 6th and 7th between Feeney and Brown as they look to three-peat to begin the season. But Kostecki takes the early command here from Taupo. How about that? They're battling side by side in our rear view mirror, but immediately we're putting some pressure on the back of Kostecki. So I'm not planning to change the AI difficulty at all throughout this season, as I found kind of the sweet spot, usually running about 94% difficulty with an extra 5% available, which is a weird thing in Assetto Corsa. It seems to make for the most competitive racing, so I was quite surprised to see myself on pole after the last 2 rounds that we've run to kick off this season now, as we're still all over the back of Kostecki here as we head towards the last half of the circuit. 25 laps coming your way. Now, we actually surprisingly have enough fuel in the tank to get to the end of this race. However, we don't quite have enough tire life. If you go into really hard tire saving, you can probably make this race without actually making a pit stop, but nobody's going to do that, and I'm not going to do that either because that's not very fun. So the AI, they will still make a pit stop. We will still make a pit stop as well, but likely won't even need to put fuel in the car. It just only going to need to put tires on the car here. As we come towards lap 2 at this point, Courtney as well as Murray 3rd and 4th, Feeney up to 5th, Brown up to 6th, Thomas Randall to 7th, James Golding down in P8 as we continue to kind of stalk our teammate right to the back bumper of Kostecki. Nearly ran into the back of him right there, but we are just kind of waiting and biding our time, waiting for the right opportunity, because I'm very confident in the pace that we got here today in Taupo. We've been on it all weekend. We try to continue here down the long back straightaway. Look at the slipstream. Now the pole to the left side. We'll go wheel to wheel with Kostecki on the run into the left-hander now. Of course, a champion versus a rookie. We take the lead here from our teammate from Taupo now. Kostecki gives it up, and he goes down to P2 as we get up through the gears and try to run away now over the next few laps. As that was all happening, here's Brock Feeney actually losing out to his teammate of Will Brown, who would look up his inside as they were heading down the long straightaway. So Feeney loses the position, Brown moves through, and you see Cooper Murray just in front of the pair of these two Red Bulls that are battling side by side down the long back straightaway. Feeney not making things easy, running him all the way to the grass. But watch this, to my surprise, Brown gets up the inside of Cooper Murray into the last few corners there, and he's going to be able to gain 2 spots in just half a lap. So a very successful just period right there for Will Brown to put him up into the 4th position. And it wasn't long until he would run down James Courtney, and he was putting some pressure on Courtney, and I can confirm he actually would end up getting past James Courtney and eventually move up into the 3rd position here. Now as we're going to go wide off the circuit in the final hairpin, a completely self-inflicted error, and here comes our teammate of Kostecki. He takes the lead back, and that was when Brown pounced on Courtney. He moves into 3rd, and now we've got the top 4 all right here together, but Kostecki back to the lead. We drop down to 2nd place after an error, and now Will Brown has run both myself and Kostecki down over the next lap. On lap 4, actually into the back of Kostecki right there. Not what I wanted to do. Of course, bumper-to-bumper contact, pretty frowned upon in Supercars. I really wish personally Supercars would open up a bit more and not be against bumper-to-bumper contact, kind of like a NASCAR approach. As long as you're not wrecking the guy, you can move him out of the groove. I think that's good racing. Now, we continue to prove, though, that you don't necessarily need to run into someone for good racing, because look at this move to the left side, and now we'll go wheel to wheel into the right bend. We'll go the long way around and take the lead back from Brody Kostecki, proving that we are here to fight. We are here to do more than fight. We're here to win in just our 3rd Supercars start. And like I said, based off our pace in round 1 and round 2, I mean, we showed signs in round 1 of really good pace. In round 2 in Melbourne, we benefited off of poor strategy of other cars because we really wouldn't have gotten the finish that we had without that. So we find ourselves still in the top 10 in the points with some luck on our side, but our pace wasn't great in Melbourne, to say the least. But our pace is on a different level here from Taupo now as Kostecki continues in 2nd, but we're driving away. We've opened up the gap by over a second, now about 1.5 seconds, and Will Brown is just stalking Kostecki, but he can't find a way around him. Thomas Randall as well, he's worked his way past Brock Feeney, so the Ampol Red Bull driver kind of struggling a little bit there in P6. Recent rumors that he could be actually on track for a few NASCAR starts this season, specifically in the Xfinity Series, so that's going to be interesting to watch play out. I think Feeney, of course, is a rising superstar of Supercars in the future, and he mentioned he didn't really have any interest in the oval side of NASCAR, but I'm pretty convinced personally that if he gave it a try, his opinion would probably change. You look at Shane Van Gisbergen and being a great example of someone who had his interest peaked in what it's turned into there, as we've opened up the gap now over 2 seconds, nearly 3 seconds to Brody Kostecki, as actually surprisingly Will Brown didn't stick with Kostecki as the tires were wearing. Actually Brown would start to fade, and he actually fell back into the reins of James Courtney, Thomas Randall, and Brock Feeney as well, all right there together. So now you see on the track map at the top right, it's myself, and it's a 2.7 second advantage to Kostecki, and then it's Brown, Courtney, Randall, Feeney all right there together. But as the tires were wearing further and further, you can see we're almost halfway through this race already, and it's been a pretty lackluster race overall. I mean, we have been just out front for the majority of it, which is great, but yeah, I mean, we have been dominating, but as the tires wear, I'm noticing that Kostecki is not losing as much time now, and he's actually stabilizing the gap between himself and I. So it seems like we're better on fresh tires than Kostecki, but as the tires wear, he kind of finds some pace to get back even. But the question is, can he find more pace than me? Because if he can't, then we're not going to really have to worry. And over the course of the next lap or so, we continue to manage the gap, and you can see it's still over 3 seconds. Actually, it jumps up to 3.7, 3.8 seconds, surprisingly, to 4 seconds. Actually, that's because Kostecki is coming into the pit, so he's going to pit about halfway through. You can pit now, you'll be able to make it to the end, no problem. So he's coming in for some tires, and my thought process here is, I mean, surprisingly, we're actually running down some lap traffic. Some other other cars are going to be coming into the pits that are in the last half of the field as well. Kostecki exits P7, but I want to stay in the clean air. And I say clean air, we're on the back of Jack LeBrock, who's running dead last and he's in the way, but I want clean air on my nose because it just allows me to optimize my lap time. Kostecki, however, pits. He's trying to get fresh tires and take advantage. However, I don't think he's going to gain time. I think he's going to cost himself a bunch of time here because a lot of the cars behind him, as their tires are wearing quite a bit off the pace, but it's still kind of difficult to pass. And I think Kostecki is going to actually lose maybe 4 or 5, 6 seconds just because he's going to get stuck behind traffic on worn tires while I'm out in this right here, clean air, driving away. Now, lap 16, 10 laps to go in this race, and we have a 17-second advantage on who was originally in third, Will Brown. You see Kostecki has gotten through into P6, and we're about to see pit stops really start to kick off over the next lap or so, as we are really running down some cars in front of us now. There's Courtney, actually, you see on the leaderboard, he comes into the pits now, so he'll be getting a bit of fuel and some tires now. Since we had to get tires, some of the AI did not fuel their car to go all the way, which I think is a mistake. We fueled our car to go all the way. You see the tire wear in the left bottom of the screen. We could try to save, but it would be quite hard to get to the end with those tires. Now we have enough of a gap to where we can maybe try it, but I'm not going to make a decision based off of a maybe. I want a certain answer, and we didn't really have that, and I wasn't confident I could quite save those right sides specifically to get to the end. I could definitely get the left sides to the end, as we got yellows here. Lap 18, and it looks like Bryce Fullwood. I believe Fullwood's off the circuit. Yes, he is. What's happened there? We're going to take a look at the replay. Our first incident of the day here in Taupo, and it's in the last 10 laps. Will Brown's into the pits now, but replay here, and actually I believe we've got, is that Jackson Evans, I believe, coming out of the pits, and oh my goodness, Fullwood drives into him, hits another car, goes off track, comes to a stop, and he would end up just sitting there, so it's going to be the end of the day. Race over for Fullwood. A bit of a surprising incident there, as you can see, really getting myself engulfed now in some lap traffic in front of us, so just trying to be smart and manage the gap and manage the time. We've got a huge advantage over Brock Feeney. 30 seconds advantage. Kostecki now into fourth. So we have managed our tires better than the majority of the field. Maybe Kostecki's the only one that's been on par with us. So just a pair of team cars that have kind of been better than everybody. But we have been dominant all weekend, to my surprise, and probably to your guys' surprise as well if you've seen the first 2 episodes. As I mean, it's just a shock race here as we continue to put cars a lap down. You see a big group of cars right there in front of us. That's the group we don't want to be in. That's when we want to pit. When we get to that group, we want to come into the pits. So, and we would get to that group as Brock Feeney would pit now. Golding as well. That will move through Kostecki into the second position. And as well, Chaz Mostert's coming in. He's having a nice top 10 run as well. You'll see, look at the gap. 35 seconds, 36 seconds gap to Brody Kostecki. He has given up extra time because he was in traffic. So I think we're still going to come out in the lead by even more. And like I said, I was thinking it was going to be about 4 or 5 seconds extra of a gap, which we originally had a 3-second gap to Kostecki. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 7, 8 seconds when we exit the pits, just because he put himself in traffic when we kept the clean air. He tried to bank on the fresh tires making the difference. I don't think it's going to happen, as he was gaining time on me over the course of this lap, but he's got some more fresh air now. So we're going to come into the pits here. It's going to be simply 5 laps to go in this race, and we'll get the tires on. No fuel needed, so we can do tires only. So this will also shorten up the pit stop a little bit. So we'll get tires, no fuel, and you're going to see that gap, of course, dwindle as we head to the pit exit now, and we'll wait and see what that gap looks like over the next few seconds. There's Bryce Fullwood still just sitting there in the grass, and there goes the gap. 17, 15, 14. It's probably going to be, I'm thinking, 8-ish seconds, 12 seconds, 10, and hold on, 9.8. I think that might be it. 9 point, yep, it's going to be about a 9 to 10 second gap to Kostecki with 5 laps to go, proving the clean air strategy going long was the way to go and not get yourself caught up in traffic like Kostecki did. The tires just weren't enough to make a difference, and here we are in front with just 4 laps to go at this point now, and we have extended the gap to 11 seconds just about because of our fresh tire advantage that we now have over Kostecki. Jack LeBrock right there in front of us now will get to the inside of him and pass him. Thank you very much now, showing that he's been running by himself, and we lapped him earlier, but he made his pit stop, had fresher rubber than me, and was actually able to get back out in front of me. So that shows you that if you have clean air and fresh tires, you definitely can find some pace. But nonetheless, we continue on doing our thing here, and as we come towards the final few laps of this race, actually we got some yellows here in front of us in towards the final hairpin. Can't quite tell. I believe, is that Jackson Evans potentially off the track? No, it is not. David Reynolds, actually, that is. They're sitting in the gravel. We get a replay, and he's actually going to lock up the left front, go off track, hit the sand, and actually go airborne and stay stationary for a few moments' time. And as we now hit 2 laps to go, a bit of, last half of the race chaos, but fortunately it's not affected us. One thing I would love is if Assetto Corsa had some kind of safety car, system. I think that would really, really help. But outside of that, the racing is pretty fun, and I hope it's pretty fun for you guys to watch. But I am as well exploring doing a few episodes of the season with iRacing AI at official tracks for Supercars, so stay tuned on that. We could kind of go back and forth between Assetto Corsa and iRacing AI as well, which would allow safety cars and better weather as well. So stay tuned on that, because that is certainly an option as we come though to the final lap of this race here. And now we're just managing traffic. I'm not really pushing the issue. We've got a now 13-second gap as I actually get to the back of the car in front of me right there. But Brody Kostecki just didn't quite have it in him and really suffered on that poor strategy. I mean, we are dominant here today, and not only today, but this weekend through qualifying on pole position by 4.5 tenths of a second to just being out in front here all race long. We did make a self-inflicted error and put ourselves behind Kostecki for a very short period of time after we had just taken the lead from him, but we recovered, and here we are running away in these closing moments on this final lap here in New Zealand, the one and only time in New Zealand for Supercars this season, as we mentioned a few times today. Now as we head down this long back straightaway for the final time, and it's a 14-second gap. Brown in P3, it'll be a Kostecki Brown podium. Brock Feeney with a rough day here in P7 as we head down into the final few corners. What a drive. Round 3, race 3 of our Supercars career as a rookie will exit the final turn, and we are going to become a Supercars winner in just the 3rd race of the season here in New Zealand as we take victory. And on the final lap, actually, Chaz Mostert running top 10 has a big moment, just like we saw David Reynolds, and he would go off the track, ruining his finish. He was P6 at the time, and it ends up going P6 to Feeney. As you see the finishing order there, Randall just off the podium, Matt Payne, James Golden, Cam Waters, finally a solid day. Aaron Love in the top 10 as well, Kai Allen there. Heimgartner at home in 13th, but you see Monster ends up 17th. Wow. On a last lap mistake. And you see the rest of your finishing order: Evans and Fullwood, Murray, Reynolds, and LeBrock, the bottom of the top 5. And of course, you see the updated standings, and of course, Brock Feeney gives up a little bit there. He's lucky he gained 1 spot right at the end of that race. Mostert, I mean, got to be scratching his head, shaking his head over that one. A great points day, of course, for us, and a solid points day for, of course, Kostecki and Brown as well. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up here for round 3 of our Supercars career mode. We have won. I don't expect to win a lot in our first season. Honestly, I'd be happy if we just got this win at all this year, and if we can win one more, that would be great as well. But that does it for me. I'll see you guys in the next round. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.